Chapter 11. Dawn was scarce an hour old when Sagax was wakened by an enormous belch and the sound of Scaram's voice. "Whoops, I say, excuse me." The noise woke Kruva also, and being closest, he dived upon the glutinous hare, who was in the procession of raiding their food supplies. Sagax opened the sea otter, helped the sea otter to restrain Scaram, managing to get him in a headlock, while Kruva grabbed the hare's paws and shook them roughly. "Let go of those victuals, you long-eared bandit! We thought you were seasick and sore to the teeth." As Scaram strained to reach his mouth with honeyed oatcake, Kruva knocked it from his grasp, and the ever-hungry hare protested volubly. "Get off me, you rotters! Can't you see I'm jolly well again? Ain't a chap allowed to make a recovery? Some bally dignity, what? Release my starving young body, I say." Sagax kicked the ration packs out of Scaram's reach. Then he and Kruva got the culprit down and sat on him. The young badger looked at the knapsacks with horror. "You thieving flop-eared food bag, don't tell me you've eaten all those victuals while we were sleeping." Scaram became quite moody and self-righteous. "Serves you right for laughing at me. I mean, what's a chap to do, eh? You made a flippin' miraculous recovery, no thanks to you two snoring and wheezing there and stuffing yourself with skilly and duff. So I came to the conclusion that I'd have to put myself on the road to recovery with just a measly nibble or two, you see there." Kruva was aghast at the amount of food the hare had bolted. "Measly nibble or two, you say, you great lolloping grub swiper? You've near eaten us out of keel and cabin." Scaram stared up pleadingly. "I say, messmates, do you mind not sitting on me? It's making me feel quite ill again, what?" They released him. Kruva went back and unlashed the tiller, making up his position as steerbeast. Sagax repacked the scraps of food in the depleted packs, while Scaram sat in the bow, sulking as his badger friend tried remonstrating with him. "Really, Scaram, you make me ashamed of you and your company. Fancy sitting up to half the night scoffing yourself with the ship's supplies. You're not the only creature aboard. There's me and Kruva too, you know. Well, what do you have to say for yourself, eh?" The hare nibbled crumbs from his paws moodily. "Huh, don't know. What are you going to do yourself in such a blue funk about? There's absolutely loads of scoffing scads of victuals over that way." He gestured starboard. Kruva looked perplexed. "Where?" Scaram pointed again, explaining his logic. "Over there, of course. That's where land's supposed to be, ain't it? You jolly well said so when you took us a look at the map. Matter of fact, you were the chap who knew exactly where we are. So if there's land over there, there must be scoff of some kind. Huh, even a duffer would figure that out, what?" Sagax exchanged glances with the sea otter and shrugged. "He's right, of course. We're not in any great hurry. Why don't we sail over to where that way and take a look? No harm done." Kruva shaded his eyes, peering at the watery horizon. "I never said I knowed exactly where we are. I'm just making a rough guess. But the coast is on our starboard side. I'm making a game to take a chance if we are, mates." Scaram immediately began spouting nautical nonsense. "Belay then, me hearties, and all of this sort of bilge and scuttle. Lower the jolly old mainsail, what's it, and turn the thing-gummy handle. Trim up the sail, do dial madads, and set course for dry land and boatloads of scoff, what?" After an hour of heading due east, they were rewarded with a sigh of a tiny gray strip on the horizon. Sagax was the first to see it. "You were right, Kruva. Looks like there's land to me. Do you have any idea what part of the coast it is?" Studying the charts, the otter shook his head. "Don't see any hills sticking up or clear landmarks. Could be anywheres, but like you said, mate, 'tis land." After dealing with tackling against the ongoing tide, they felt the stopdog's keel scrape sand. It was early noon. Sagax leaped over, landing waist-deep in the sea. Throwing the bow rope over his shoulder, he began pulling the vessel closer to shore. Kruva jumped in to assist him, but Scaram went aft and sat playing with the tiller. "No need for three of us to get our paws soaked wet, what? You chaps are doing a splendid job there. I'll stay back here and get the jolly old mast straight." Kruva smiled as he called back, "'Tain't a mast, that's a tiller. And it will look after yourself. Now get your paws wet, sea water's good for 'em." Scaram's reply was punctuated by a snort of decision, and and get eaten by some hungry shark? Psh, sir, my parents didn't rear this charming creature for him to end up as a fish's dinner. Indeed not. He waited until they were level with the beach before making a springy hop onto the sand, pulling a fish. Yuck! Pretty damp around here, ain't it? Have to watch I don't catch a chill. Righty-ho, lead on, shore party chaps. Kruger found a broken spar of driftwood in the tide line. Taking a sea-smooth boulder, he drove the wood deep into the sand on the lee side of the tide line, and tied the rope to it. That should hold her till we return. Right, let's take the lay of the land and see where we are. What? They had landed on a broad beach of gray sand, dotted with areas of shingle. Beyond that lay a shallow rise to scrubby grassland, steepening into a flat-topped dunes, scattered by small gnarled trees. Kruva had armed himself with the old cutlass they had found on board. Scarum had the dagger tucked in the back of his belt, while Sagax held the old unstrung bow like a staff. He pointed up to the dunes with it and began trudging through the sand. That could be a likely place. Come on. They came across the meager bits of food, some wild onions, sweet young dandelion roots, and a patch of drop-water parsley. Sagax took charge of it before Scarum could start stuffing himself. The young badger stowed it in one of the knapsacks, which he had emptied and fetched along. The hare pouted a bit. Fresh vegetation is supposed to be good for scurvy. We should chew on a bit of the stuff after our voyage, what? Kriva whacked him lightly with his rudder. You ain't been long enough to see to smell salty, let alone get scurvy. There was not much else edible to be found, although one of the trees was hazel. The nuts were still green and solid. Nonetheless, Sagax began picking the biggest ones. Anything's better than nothing. We might find some way to cook these up and make 'em taste all right. That was the nuisance Scarum got to. Can you see him? Kriva immediately spotted the hare. He was racing along the dune tops like a mad beast, holding in his paw a withered chunk of honeycomb, pursued by a small number of bees. You! Get off, you rotters! I saw it first! Ouch, ouch! Here, chaps! Help! There was a crashing noise, and Scarum vanished in a dip amid the dunes. Sagax started to run towards it, but Kriva held him back. No hurry, mates. Let 'em get shut up by those bees first. There's only a few of 'em. Old Potbelly won't come to much harm. They strolled across the dunes, and the sea otter pointed out a stunted bush with the remains of the hive. It's an old one. Those are probably the last few bees moving away. Their queen must have died. He loaded bits of broken honeycomb into the knapsack. Nice of old Scarum to find it for us, though. On reaching the dip, they found themselves staring down into a ruined dwelling. It looked as if it had been some form of a hideout. The walls were made of stone, and the driftwood shored up by sand. The roof was a lattice of woven broad-stemmed grass and dried rushes. There was a large hole torn through the roof. A few ancient bees buzzed slowly out into the daylight, followed by Scarum's complaining shouts. Go away, you miserable insects! Be off with you! Be off! Oh, I see, that's a good one. Yarr! What's that? The hare sounded so frightened and urgent that the two friends felt bound to investigate. Sliding down to the sun-warmed sand in the hollow, they found the door, a crude affair of cordage and rushes. Sagax pulled it to one side and allowed noontide sunlight to stream in. The petrified hare was laying flat on his back, flanked either side by two skeletons clad in moldering rags. Scarum lay there, with his eyes the only part of him moved. He rolled them beseechingly at the badger and the otter. Pull me out quick! Quick, quick, quick! They reached inside and dragged him out by his footpaws. Scarum began stuffing his piece of honeycomb into his mouth. Good for shock, something sweet. That's what my old auntie used to say. Good old auntie. So good. Scarum sat down outside the ruined dwelling, peering in. They looked like the remains of rats to me. What do you think? Kriva went inside and squatted by the grisly things to inspect them carefully. I'd say that you was right. That's what left of a couple of old sea rats. Look at this. He held up two brass earrings, now tarnished to green. Rummaging around in the sand, he came across a carved bone bracelet and a fish skin eye patch. They were sea rats, sure enough. Look at those rags clothing. Typical sea rat gear. Wonder how they came to perish in this forsaken place. Sagax pointed to with his unstringed bow. Well, look around for yourself. There doesn't appear to be any signs of upset, a battle, or struggle. I think these two rats just starved to death. They seem to be lying there peacefully enough. The sea otter shifted his paws to the sand and around both wrenched skeletons. Aye, you're right, though. Ain't no traces of victuals, not even some fish bones or empty water flagons. 'Twas starvation finished off these two, all right. Scarum, who had remained steadfast outside, peered over Sagax's shoulder, a look of mixed horror and sympathy on his face. He shook his head sadly. I say, what an absolutely awful thing to go. Poor blighters. Fancy perishing from the lack of tuck and measly drop to drink. Good grief, it boggles the imagination, what? I jolly well die before that happened to me. Sagax ignored the hare's inane comments. Curva, what's those things sticking up out of the sand? There, just by your left footpaw. Digging his paws into the shifting sand, the otter pulled out a smooth yellow cylinder. What's this? Beats me, mate. I ain't ever seen nothing like it afore. 'Ere, catch. He tossed the object to Sagax. The young badger had no trouble in identifying it. It's called bamboo. My father has a piece of it in his collection of sea rat stuff. He said it comes from a hot lands beyond the ocean. Look, it has a wooden cake stopper knocked out into one end. Sagax tried to dislodge the stopper, but it was fitted so tightly it would not budge. Curva emerged from the ruined dwelling. He gazed back inside at the dark, empty, eyeless sockets of the two sea rat skulls, fixed forever in the eerie grin of death. This bamboo must have belonged to one of them. Let's see if I can open. There's probably something inside. Curva spent some time wrestling unsuccessfully with the stopper at the tubby yellow cylinder. He gave up after a while and looked at Sagax. What's up, mate? The badger sat still, tense. He spoke softly. Listen to what I say, you two, especially you, Scarum. Whatever you do, don't look up. We're being watched. There's quite a few of them up there. I can tell by the way the grass is moving. Listen, can you hear hissing? Scarum started to look upwards at the crater rim. Curva tugged the hare's tail sharply. You heard what Sagax said. Keep your head down. Scarum obeyed reluctantly. Hissing? You mean hissing like snakes? From the corner of his eye, Sagax caught a swift glimpse of a narrow reptilian head peering down at them from the grassy fringe. Might be snakes. Here's what I say now. Get inside as fast as you can. Ready? Now. Scarum streaked inside, regardless of the skeletons. In practically the same instant, he was followed by his friends. Curva flattened himself, stomach down, peering outwards. Lizards. That's what's watching us. Lizards, and lots of them. Rat bones clacked as Scarum scrambled to the other side. Sagax joined them for a proper look at the lizards. The reptiles were crowded around the crater's edge. Many black and green spotted males and light brown molted females. They stood gazing unwinkingly at the newcomers to their territory, mouths opened and closing, like dark snake-like tongues flicking in and out. Scarum tried buoying his confidence as he watched more lizards pack in round the edge. Ugly blighters, ain't they? Not as bad as sharks, though. Huh, one of those chaps isn't big enough to eat me, what? Curva pawed at his cutlass edge, remarking dryly, Maybe not, but there's more than 100 of those things waiting for us to make a move. Little they might be, but they're predators, all right. Take my word for it, mate. Sagax surveyed the sides of the crater. The question is, how do we get out of here in a hurry? The sides are soft and pretty steep. I say we're in trouble. They're waiting for us to make a move, sure enough. As he was speaking, a female leaned out too far and overbalanced. She came sliding and scrabbling down the slope, landing next to the dwelling entrance. The lizard stood rigid, as if hoping to be not noticed. Scarum chuckled nervously and addressed the reptile. What do you do, old thing? Just drop in for a visit, what? The lizard backed off, raising first one front leg and the other, opening her mouth and hissing. Scarum ventured a paw towards her, and she hissed even louder. The hare waggled his ears severely. Shh! Don't seem to speak a word of sense. Must be jolly difficult not being able to say, pass the soup, or can I have another portion of pudding, please? Tell you what, I'll send her back to her pals, ignorant lot. That'll show 'em what they mean to. We don't mean any harm. Let's Like to go back up to your family, Marm? What? Before Sagax or Kriva could stop him, the hare swept the sand lizard up in both paws and hurled it among the other lizards. He could not avoid throwing up a certain amount of sand with the reptile. The lizard backed off speedily. Scarum smiled brightly. I say, don't you see that? One good turn deserves another. I imagine they're glad to get their pal back, but they don't like being sand chucked at them, what? Sagax gathered up a double puffle of sand. Then let's try out your theory and chuck some sand. Gruva loaded his paws with sand, grinning roguishly. Aye, and let's give him some of your old Salamandastran war cry, just to show the blighters we mean business. 1, 2, 3, Eulalia! The time-honored battle cry of the hares and badgers rang then, and taking the slope at a run, they charged to the side, flinging sand and roaring aloud. Eulalia! Give him blood and vinegar, buckos! Eulalia! There was not a lizard to be seen when they gained the dune top at once. Scarum chortled, ha 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 ha, frightened a bit of sand. Who'd have blinking well believed it? Come out and show yourself, you lily-livered, sausage-skinned, pot-headed, slimy-bottomed cowards. Come and fight. Whether by investigation or angry inclination, there came a loud hissing noise. Suddenly the dune tops were teeming with not just hundreds, but literally thousands of the sand lizards, all looking rather angry. The three companions hurtled down the dunes, sand spraying everywhere from beneath their pounding paws. As they raced across the low hills away from the crater, Kriva shouted, You and your old fat mouth, what did we have to go and challenge those reptiles? Ain't you got no sense at all? The hare sped past his two friends on the shore. Steady on there, Planktail. I didn't know they could understand me. I just caught up in the heat of the moment, you say, blood roused by the jolly old war cry and all what? Suddenly Sagax could not help bursting out in laughter. Ha ha! I thought that's the only thing that would ever raise your blood. Would be a double helping of apple pie. Now they were in sight of the stub dog. The humor of the situation hit Kriva and Scarum. You could be right, old sport. I can get a jolly warlike if any beast tries to put a spoon in my soup. Bet you couldn't scrape with twice that number of lizards for a steaming bowl of skilly and duff. That'll be a sight for me to see, mates. They made out to the boat safely. Sagax was loosening the head rope from a driftwood stump when Scarum called out, Look there, the flippin' lizard's been stopped in the dunes. See, they're all standing there just watching us? Cheerio, you snot-nosed sand sloppers, you string-tailed, pop-eyed, spotty-skinned, frithily clawed sand swiffers. Kriva winked mischievously at Sagax and nodded towards the stop dog. Leaning aboard, he yelled out fearfully, Look out, the lizards are coming this way fast! The vessel sailed out from the shadows with a panicked Scarum splashing madly after them. Wait for me, you bounders. You couldn't leave a chum behind to face those leaping lizards alone, would you? Rotters, lend a pawl or two, chuck me a flippin' rope, pull me aboard before they get their slimy claws on me. Cads! They hauled the hare aboard, jostling him unmercifully. Oh dear me, you got wet paws. Mind you don't catch a chill. What about the sharks, mate? Didn't seem to be bothering you as much as your old lizard pals. Evening shades lay gently over the calm sea. Sagax was making a pot of vegetable soup and warming barley scones against the firepot. Scarum hovered close to the food until the badger chased him away. Can't cook with you breathing down my neck. Go and help Kriva to open the bamboo thing. Be off with you. The sea otter was still struggling to release the stopper from the bamboo cylinder with Scarum. Looking back over his shoulder at the supper cooking, tripped, he fell, cracking his head against the bamboo tube. It split in two pieces lengthways. Ouch! I see, that solved the jolly old problem. Hello, what's in there? Kriva unwrapped some greasy canvas from around the object, which had been packed inside the cylinder. A dagger, just like the one that's in your belt, matey. Look at the carving on it. Well, ain't that odd? Same marks in your dagger in the stern of the vessel. Sagax left off his cooking and hurried to join them. I wonder what it's supposed to mean. It meant little to Scarum, who pushed past Sagax and sat watching the soup bubble. Probably means this soup will be ruined if I don't tend to it. Good job that bamboo thingy wasn't as hard as my handsome head, what? Kriva and Sagax ignored him. Mystified and puzzled, they both sat staring at the carving on the dagger's handle.